Hello, everybody. Hey, Robert, our guest tonight. It's great to have you.
Philip,
Great to
nice
see
to
you.
see you.
There we go. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Likewise, likewise. A bunch of us were at Lincoln Center for the film festival. I think you were there. Is that right? I didn't
I
get to talk to you,
was.
but I think some did. Uh,
Yeah, I
Very
was
exciting.
there. Yeah, it was pretty surreal. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's my pup.
And so you're in Toronto, is that right?
Yeah, just outside. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the area, but I'm closer to Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I have family in Tonawanda, which
Okay.
is up there, and I have been to Niagara Falls. It's very nice. We have some Canadians in the group as well.
Oh, great.
They will make themselves known. Michael, how are you? Great to see you.
Good, good, good.
Gary,
Can't
wonderful to see you.
complain.
You can complain. That's what we're here for.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you. No.
Yeah. You know, what was funny was when the Knicks won in New York, the amount of happiness I saw on the street was just not characteristic of New York. You just don't see that.
Are we raising our hands for complaints? Because I have a ton.
Oh, yeah. Just submit them to the chat.
To Clemencia.
To go. Oh no.
I'll just tell
To,
Clemencia my complaints and see what
not
she does about
Clemencia,
it.
her bot. Her bot.
Yeah, that's what I can't tell. Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Gary, wonderful to see you. I can't wait to get you to talk about some. We've talked about it, but like talk about some.
Yeah.
I feel like I've lost touch with you, and I
Well,
watch your channel, but it's nice to get the real guy.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying little things, but nothing like that I want to like report like the cool use of AI or something like that.
Mhm.
But I am experimenting with a few non-video generation uses of AI
Yeah.
for video creation.
Oh, cool. No, I'd love to hear about that. And I think sharing the little things is helpful too, because, I love to, people can see the different things they could be doing as opposed to,
Yeah.
not just the big things.
Well,
Uh,
I used the main thing I did is I used Claude Cowork to go through my 2000 photos from an African safari
oh,
and try to pick out, like, help me pick out the ones to use for a video by
interesting.
categorizing them, keywording them, rating them,
Yeah.
and trying to find like which ones were like duplicates. Because you take a picture of the same lion, like 15 of them, and then
Uh,
like which
uh,
which one should I use? And don't show me any others. So
right.
so yeah, kind of interesting. I'm still in the middle of
Yeah.
finding the best way to work with AI to do that.
And was it doing it relatively intelligently?
Yeah, I mean, it was doing it. Oh, there's my cat. That's not a lion. That's not
Speaking
one
of
of them.
lions, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was doing a great job with the keywords. So right away, I was like, if while making the video, if I needed to find like the picture of the waterfall, like I really could have gone to this
That's cool.
spreadsheet very quickly. Um, but it was doing an okay job trying to like group the pictures together like a human would and say,
Yeah.
these are all the same thing. You just took a lot of shots of it and
Yeah.
you're probably only going to want to use one because that's like probably the same problem with like a lot of documentary filmmaking, right? So you have the
Yeah.
same thing over and over
Yeah.
again, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I just need the one, which one, and then
Yeah.
don't bother me with the others after I decide, that kind of thing. So I'm
Yeah.
working on that kind of process.
That's cool. I'm also, and actually, Robert, tonight, I'm curious when we get to talk about your process with the film. Um, I don't know if you did any of this, but I like to experiment with seeing whether it can actually judge whether that's like sort of what you were talking about, Gary. Like I had it once just start generating. I wanted to get like 30 B-roll stills to generate later 30 videos, let's say. Um, so I had it generating those stills, and I was curious to actually have it then judge them. And there's different ways to do that. So anyway,
I'm
yeah, I
I'm, I'm
was,
curious.
yeah.
I'm curious if you guys, like Gary, especially because he's been doing this. If you're using any sort of skill structure, any sort of like a jam or whatever. Like, are you giving it criteria or just being like, here's my problem, go fix it? Or are you telling it like, here's what here's what makes a good picture. Here's what makes a photo 35 of the same lion. Like, are you giving it some
Yeah.
structure to work with?
Yeah, that's the trick, is finding the right prompt to explain to it what I mean
Yeah.
about like the same, what is the same picture? Like what's the same, calling it the same sequence. The timestamps are going to be really close, is a clue I can give it. It's same subject in there, looks, that kind of thing. And just getting it to recognize that, because it'll recognize, like if I take a picture of three lions, right, in the same, I want it to give me, here are three photos out of your sequence of 30, right? The three
Yeah.
different lions. I don't
Yeah.
want it
Yeah.
to say, these are all just pictures of lions. Here's your best one.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So
yeah, that's
are you
exactly
giving
what
it
the problem I'm dealing
examples
with.
and stuff? Are you giving it like good and
Examples.
bad?
I haven't been doing examples. I just been just looking at the results, modifying it, and then figuring it out. It was interesting. I did ask it to give me like why was it rating photos like it did. And it's already, without me telling it, was looking at like the clarity of the photo. And I told it this was for a video, so it was already looking for things that would look good in video, were really clear what they are, didn't have a lot of distractions in them, and it had a lot of stuff in there,
Yeah.
which gave me some ideas of how, okay, it's already thinking about all this. I could probably help it think about it by being better in my descriptions. So,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
like I wonder how much of it is like because I like when I'm asking I do this with thumbnails a lot. Like I'm asking
mhm.
Gemini and several other tools like which of these thumbnails is stronger for YouTube, whatever. But I'll always tell it like and show your work. Like tell me why you came to that determination or that one. Kind of if like I think it forces it then to kind of come up with a methodology if there's any gap in what I'm giving it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it helps you troubleshoot too. Because you might not realize it was taking this fact, you didn't even think about that factor. And it tells you, like, I'm considering this. And you're like, no, 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 don't consider that. Or hey, consider that even more, or some other thing. So
So
no, it really helps.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna step in for a second because people are confused in the chat. People who are just arriving. We were just chatting, and so we just got started on a discussion. What Gary has been experimenting with is seeing if he can give if he can give is it Claude you're using?
Yeah, I was using Claude and
Yeah,
then the co-work part of Claude. So I was giving
right.
it access. That was the thing. I was putting all these photos in a folder.
So let me just finish. I'll just basically, Gary is giving a ton of pictures that he took on a safari to Claude and asking Claude to sort them, give them keywords, and ultimately, can it choose good pictures? Yeah.
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 Yeah. So Claude Cowork, you can actually like I said, here's a folder with all these photos. And I, so it actually had access to my photos. Like I didn't have to upload them to it. I just said, pointed at the folder. And so, and then it just goes through them and it was creating a spreadsheet for me.
Hmm.
So the idea was the spreadsheet had links in it. So I could easily get to the file on my drive. So I could look through the spreadsheet and say, oh, yeah, here's one that looks interesting because of the keywords or whatever. Or I could sort the spreadsheet by keywords that included something in it. And then I could then click on it and it would take me right to the file, with the idea being then I could drag it into Final Cut Pro or whatever I want to use to, like, that's the next photo in the sequence. But ideally, I would love for it to me to take a script and throw it in there and say, here's the 2,000 photos. And I want each photo to be, either 2, 4, or 6 seconds long on the screen. Give me the list. And then with the list, I could probably write something that would easily, actually, Claude Cowork could just put them in a folder, move copies of them into a folder and number them.
So I
Right?
hate to interrupt you, Gary. You're on a roll here. This is what's funny is, and I do this too. It's like I don't really have anything. I'm not actually working on anything, and then it's like actually I am working on this really awesome project. And
Yeah.
you're reminding me how I do similar tinkering, and I am ultimately compelled to replace myself, which is a terrible thing. Like get it to do what I do, but I'm just
Mhm.
so curious if it can do it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Well, I
would.
just wanted to make it easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, I would love Gary to have you come and
Once
really
yeah,
show us that
I'm
stuff.
going to keep, I mean, this video is going to get made and I am going to use Claude Cowork in some way. So once
Yeah,
I'm done with it, then yeah, I'll have something to share about how I made it.
fantastic. 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 Thank you, Gary. Yeah. So everyone who just tuned in, it was sort of, we were just chatting beforehand. Les, though, you had a question?
No, I just wanted to add that I use Cowork, and I fed. So there's the Ken Burns Masterclass. There's a 100-page textbook that accompanies it. I fed the textbook, and I fed one of his entire narration, one of his entire scripts, and created a skill from that. And I use that for critiquing my work. And I had Claude Cowork critique 5 photos I was going to use, archival photos, and it said use this one. Don't use these other ones. They're staged photos, and it was right. It was quite good. Anyway,
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I think it would be fun to have a night and sort of, AI, experimenting with AI to, critique art, critique our art, and also to start editing. But I want to make sure we have time for our wonderful guest. So tonight we've got fabulous Robert Gaudette. Am I pronouncing it properly there, Robert?
Yep, that's it.
Who a bunch of us were at the AI Film Festival in Lincoln Center a few weeks ago, whenever that was. And Robert was the winner of the Grand Prix. So wonderful. I was hoping you would get to drive a car or something, so we're going to watch Robert's film, and then he's going to talk to us about anything we'd like to know.
Sure.
If we have time, also, I'm psyched to Jamie has Jamie, yeah. So this is a side project of Jamien's. He's been doing some cool stuff with animation. So if we have time, we'll get to that. If not, I don't want to cramp the discussion around Robert's film, but let's see what happens, and hopefully we'll squeeze in Jamie as well. So welcome everybody. Let me just see. Do we have anybody new? Raise your hand if you're new today. First time. Jeremy, wonderful. JJ, welcome. Let's just meet you guys. Just give us a few words about yourself. How did you find us, and what kind of fun stuff are you doing with AI? If anything, you don't have to be. Not required.
So new day job is in running a video editing transport for a company, and AI is actually mandatory. Like that X amount of time must be spent trying to figure out how to replace yourself from the job using AI.
Interesting. Really? Wow. And so you are you able to say what you're using the AI to do?
Well, I don't use AI, so I've got to figure out how.
Right.
I've been asked to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a lifetime engineer, so I'm SMPTE member, broadcast doing NDI. So
Cool.
I'm on the engineering side. I'm on the broadcast truck side.
Right.
James D'Alessandro, I'm working with him on one of his projects, and the concept of using AI, and having seen one of my morning project is a show called Office Hours, officehours.global. And we do stuff with Drexel University, the Unreal Engine. And so incorporating Unreal Engine, AI and Unreal Engine, and watching assets generated using a combination of, kind of what Brian's trying to do with his background of having, Unreal components added into a real set. And I've also worked with Moses cameras and figuring out how to create a camera shot that has a background that when you're on this shot, that's the background logically in your brain. When you're this shot, that's the background in your brain. Splitting the shots within Unreal and a volume, small volumes or LED walls. So that's the kind of stuff I'm playing with, working on for the past.
That's really
3
cool.
years.
Now, when you say office hours,
I'm a network engineer.
Oh, okay.
by my education, I'm a musician.
Okay,
By work for the past 25 years, I've been a network engineer, and then COVID hit, and no one had building spaces anymore. So something else. So transport.
Now I'm very excited because you said office hours. That's Alex Lindsay's office hours.
Yes, I am the EIC for office hours.
Yes. So Alex has been an inspiration of mine since he started podcasting. He was one of the first he was in the early days of podcasting. And so I also have a podcast, and then sort of doing this is a little bit like a podcast. Very much inspired by him, and especially when COVID hit. Yep. So for those who don't know, Office Hours is basically like a daily show where experts in broadcasting and related fields, or somewhat experts, answer questions.
We have shows
but
about
they're really
popcorn.
high.
We talk about just popcorn sometimes.
Popcorn, yeah.
Making popcorn at home. We had Saturday
Yeah.
sessions. Excellent popcorn.
But I mean, Alex aims for the highest quality. That's what I've always been amazed by. So it's very much. And he used to have a thing when I don't know if he still does it, but he had a thing in the early days. Office hours was so small in terms of the number of people who knew about it, and I was there. You could basically get they would critique your mic and your background and your shot and stuff
Ruthless
like that.
reviews, we call those.
Ruthless reviews. Yeah. So I suffered a few of those. It was good. Very helpful. Anyway,
I started with Alex in 2021.
Oh, wow.
So the first year after COVID, and then I went and worked for DCA, and now I do the Office Hours build at DocuSign. So I work at DocuSign.
Oh, okay, cool.
Could you link the show?
Yeah, put a link to Office Hours in there. That'll be great. That'd be great. Everybody should check that out. So anyway, JJ, welcome. Really great to have you here. Let's see who else. Somebody else with a J. Jeremy Bronson. Sticky Heads. What's Sticky Heads?
Hey, hi there. Yeah, you got it. Actually, I need to remove the sticky heads, but it is a show. That's a YouTube show that I created with my brother, my twin brother. So hi everybody. I'm Jeremy, or you can call me Jer. My friends call me Jer. And I know Philip and excuse me, Brian. We've met a few times at some of the New York AI meetups and things. And but this is the first time joining the call. But I was also at the Runway Fest, so I saw that awesome film of yours. Is it Robert? Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So excited. Yeah. Congratulations. That was fantastic film. So I'll do real quick. I'm a stop motion animator by trade. So I had a studio in the city for about 20 years, sometime between 15 and 20 years. But all practical effects and things like that. And I'm working on two pretty cool projects right now. One is a show that I'm creating that is basically I'm using AI to create a stop motion show. So I've taken a lot of my like puppets and sets and all the stuff that I've created in my studio over the past 20 years, photographed it all, dropped it in and trained a bunch of models on it and creating this world and characters out of that. So having a lot of fun with that. But I'm also redoing a short film, my first stop motion short that I did 20 years ago in 2006. And a couple weeks ago, it hit me like, oh man, it's 20 years on. Let me take a look at that. And so I'm redoing it shot for shot. I'm using I pulled stills from from the old short. It's only 3 minutes 44. And I'm kind of recreating each scene shot for shot. And then I'll continue more because actually it was just the beginning of a much longer film that I'd had in mind that, as a 20 something, there was no way in hell. It was, it would have been like a Leica budget or something like that. So, but now I can start making it myself. So that's what I'm working on.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's so great to have you. Really cool to have you here, Jeremy.
Yeah. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks, Philip.
Right on. All right. Anybody else new here? I think I see a lot of familiar faces. Ala, welcome back. I haven't seen you in a little bit. Great to have you. Pishan, nice to see you. Magical Mary Lou, Max, Renata, welcome. All right. And Tony Pemberton, how's it going? So Robert Gaudette, welcome to AI Cafe. So for those who don't know, I mentioned it earlier, but of course, Robert did this film. We'll take a look at the film first. It's about 7.5 minutes. I'm going to paste the link to it right now from YouTube. Let's say Robert's. The reason I'm doing this is that I'm going to play it through my Zoom. Sometimes, as we know, those are a little choppy. And so if you want to take the same amount of time while we're watching it here, feel free to just hit that link and go watch it on your own browser. It'll be a little smoother. Let me just give you a quick intro of who Robert is, and then we'll play the film, and then we'll invite Robert to talk. So Robert won the Grand Prix, if I pronounce that correctly, at the Runway AI Film Festival for his beautiful short film, A Face Only a Mother Could Love. I think also one of the better titles of the night. He's 54, and he's from Toronto, Canada. He worked yes, shout out to all the Canadians here. One of your brethren is here. Robert worked in tech early in his career. He tried full-time photography, and then he moved into nonprofit work. And then when Midjourney and other AI image tools arrived in 2022, like many of us, he started generating shots with AI as a side hustle that is now his full-time job. And Robert was telling me, right, you've been doing AI full-time for the past 3 years, which I think is pretty incredible. Robert made the film we're about to watch entirely with AI tools, no actors, no crew, over 2 weeks of 17-hour days. Well done, Robert. He has never been to Paris, where the film is set. So let's now watch. Like I said, you can go ahead and click that link in the thing and watch it on your own. I will share here for those who don't want to do that. And oh, you know what? Once again, I did not click the optimize buttons. All right, here we go.
This is Marcel Dupont. He's 38 years old. He takes his coffee black. He's watching his weight. He owns 41 masks, a record player, and the unshakable belief that one day someone will ask him to dance. He has been ready for years. Marcel considers himself a late bloomer. His mother had told him so. She was a florist. She would know. Every morning, Marcel greets the baker on Rue Clément. He knows the baker's name, his wife's name, and the names of their 2 cats.
Bonjour Bernard. The brioche smells like a Tuesday miracle.
The baker has never learned Marcel's. Marcel interprets this as professional discretion.
Bonjour.
He respects it enormously. Marcel's father was a man of extraordinary imagination. He was, Marcel believed, the most creative person who had ever lived. When Marcel was 3, his father invented a game. He called it the mask game. The rules changed every time. The wonder never did. Over 7 years, his father gave him 41 masks. Each one chosen, Marcel was certain, with tremendous care and great love. Marcel catalogued each one by date and occasion. He still has the catalogue. His father, he always assumed, had one too. One afternoon, his father arrived with nothing. No matter. He produced a paper bag, a pair of scissors, and in 3 cuts, he had created a face. Marcel thought, my father can make anything. He still thinks this.
Tu répètes la même chose.
Mais je peux pas faire autrement.
Ça fait des mecs.
His father left 3 weeks later. Marcel understood. A man with such a gift for invention could not be expected to stay in one place. One day, Marcel assumed he would inherit the creative empire his father was of building. Every evening, Marcel clears the kitchen floor. He places a needle on the record. He raises his left hand to shoulder height. He dances. He has been doing this for 11 years. He is by now very good. Every Halloween, his mother would take his hand and walk him through the park to the better neighborhoods. The chocolate is different there, she said. You can taste the difference. Marcel had never been able to taste the difference, but he believed she was right. She usually was. His mother passed away 4 years ago, and walking the park had become a ritual. At 9:47 on the 31st of October, a woman in a mask sat down beside Marcel. She did not cross the street. She did not find something urgent elsewhere to be doing. She sat down. They talked for 3 hours and 40 minutes. Marcel counted. It was the longest conversation of his entire life. He did not want it to end.
Same bench. Bring something to eat.
Marcel said yes. He did not yet know that by midnight he would be standing in front of a mirror, remembering things he had spent 38 years not remembering. The boys on Rue Descartes. The names they had for him: Monstre, Le Crapaud. For 38 years his mother's voice had been louder. Tonight it wasn't.
Ça sera bien, maman.
The next morning, Marcel did not go to the bakery. Bernard did not notice. That afternoon, Marcel ironed his shirt 4 times. He polished his boots as best as 20-year-old boots can be polished. He wondered briefly if he was her type. His mother had always told him that most people only see the outside of things. But somewhere in the world, she said, there are people with different eyes, people who see straight through, to the inside. Marcel did not know exactly what she meant, but Marcel had never doubted this. He had so far simply not met one. He got as far as the corner of Rue Descartes, near enough to see her, not near enough to be seen. He was late. She was still there. She said she had seen him wave on Rue Clément once. She was 12. He was wearing a blue coat. She had been practicing a wave ever since. She said she knew he took his coffee at the 3rd table. She knew he always gave the last of his bread to the smallest pigeon. She knew he tipped his hat to people who had already looked away. She said she knew he danced, that on Tuesday evenings, if the window was open, you could hear the record from the street. That she had stood outside his window in the dark and listened to him dance alone. And that she had never rung the bell. Every evening, Marcel clears the kitchen floor. He places a needle on the record. He raises his left hand to shoulder height. He dances.
Wonderful. All right. Yeah, open your microphones, so everybody. So Robert can hear.
Thank you.
It is so lovely.
Beautiful.
It's amazing. I mean, it's just like, first of all, you know, something I felt about that whole festival was really impressive. And the thing that blew me away was many of us had been to the previous year's festival where they were good, but they still had that AI, you know, thing. And none of them had it this year. And, you know, this one in particular, is your work, it just feels like a movie, right? It's really extraordinary. So I opened the floor to questions, you know. Robert said he didn't have a formal presentation. He was just up for seeing what you guys would like to know.
Yeah.
Michael Jacobson.
Yeah, that was excellent. Did you have the script fully laid out? And if you did you make changes as you went along?
Yeah. So maybe I'll tell you a little bit how the story and the film came together, and then I'll roll right into that. I knew what type of story I wanted to tell. I knew I wanted it to be about a specific character that the world had treated, pretty harshly. And so when I came up with the idea for Marcel, I decided to give him a facial disfigurement, because in a short movie, there's not a lot of time for character development. But I think when everybody sees his face, you can imagine, how the world has likely treated him up to this point. So I knew the outline of the story, and then I started to generate characters. I actually used Grok to come up with the final character for that. I had played with a bunch. It just so happened Marcel popped up in Grok, and I knew him when I saw him, and he was a keeper. And then I wrote the script based, the way he looked really influenced my writing for the script. And so he became a Frenchman for whatever reason. He exuded some Frenchness to me. And so then that set the location. And so all of that came together and fit the structure of the type of story that I wanted to tell. So the script kind of came together, in a roundabout way. I mean, when we all sit down and write stories, if you're writing a thriller or a love story, and kind of the confines and the act structure for how all of that stuff kind of comes together. And then I flushed it all out. I was certainly open through the process, especially when I was generating. So I would generate and have a rough assembly going at the same time. So I would know where I was up to, and I could decide, like I had storyboarded and I knew what my shot list and stuff was, but I was really open to happy accidents. And I was really open to being inspired to do something different or slotted in. The scene in the bathroom where young Marcel puts on the glasses, that actually was an add-on, spur of the moment. When I was working I had the dialogue, the VO for that scene, and I thought, well, how do I illustrate this in a way that maybe brings some more levity to that point in time? And I thought I just added in those lines that he never really understood what she meant and had never met anyone like that. And so I wrote that kind of on the fly once I got to that point. So yeah, I guess it's a yes to both parts of the question. Yeah, I had a script fully flushed out, but I was really open to changing it as I went along.
I'm just curious, when you mentioned using Grok to generate the character, do you mean you were just sort of asking it to create a character that looks like this, that looks like that, that looks like that, or yeah?
Yeah. So it's just iterating. I was just in it. I was saying, create me a character of this age, highly, stylized realism, evoking, Gilliam-esque features and different things like that, just playing with words to try and get it close. And then, of course, it would give me different versions of that male figure until, I arrived at Marcel, and it was a no-brainer. It was just like the perfect match.
Amazing, amazing. Also, I want to give a shout out to Roxanne. Roxanne brought you to us, Robert. Before the festival, I think Roxanne had said she had met you and we should look out for your film. And then sure enough, you won the whole thing. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, it's still very surreal.
All right, Michael, does that answer your question? All right, moving on to...
Definitely. Thanks a million. It's inspirational.
Thank you.
Jay Fisher.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you again, Robert. It's a pleasure to meet you. I was at the festival live, and it was just amazing to see your film on the big screen, and it's a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations. Everyone's here probably sick of hearing me say it, but my big takeaway, sort of like what Philip was saying, is that it's impossible to look at this kind of work and say that it's not art. Like as far as I'm concerned, the conversation about is it art, it's over. You know, like it is art, and these tools are in the hands of an artist like you. It's art. So I wanted to ask something specific. Like one of the things that makes your film so special is it is the emotional content and the emotional expressivity. And I wanted to ask that, but it's subtle, like the little looks, like he's forlorn, and when he's meeting the woman, he's not really, you could feel he's not sure what's happening, but he's excited. Like, how did you get those kind of like subtle, like, because you know, angry is easy and joy and shame is easy, but like this subtle kind of emotional liminal space is really great. And I'd love to hear some of how you created that.
Sure. So I'll start from the start because it's a long answer. When I write the scripts and I write my characters, I write backstory too. Video generation doesn't always understand subtext, but I find it's really important for me to understand the subtext of that character and to put it in the prompt. So I will write about how those two people relate to each other. I'll write how they're feeling. Very, very short form. I'm not like writing a novel in it, but I'll say Marcel or character A or at Marcel, you know, feels disheartened because he didn't arrive on time when he looks at character B. And I'll put that into the action dialogue. The other part of it is curation. I know at the beginning of the session here, we were talking a lot, or people were talking a lot about like automation and leveraging AI to like task reduction and stuff. And I'm a person working in AI, but I really don't use automation much at all. I really like to be really hands-on with all of those decisions. So when I'm curating, it's about really understanding your characters and story in depth so that when you're curating, you can identify those specific moments that you think fit. I found earlier when I was generating, I was more concerned about the visual impact. You know, like earlier in my career, I was more concerned about like the visual impact of these scenes I was putting together and less about the nuance and consistency of shot to shot. And I think I've learned a lot of that, you know, over the last couple of years. And learning to curate. So I was a photographer for about 10 years in Toronto as well. And I used to do workshops and teach courses and stuff too. And this reminds me very much of that because everybody wanted to know about my gear and my lighting and my Photoshop workflows and stuff. And I feel the same way about that as I do this. And it's really still about story, character understanding, and curation. And so how do you get better at curation? It's by studying the art and cinema and books and literature and music and everything that you love to develop that sensibility so that you understand why you identify it. You all have a sense of what you like and what you don't like, but it's really hard to pin down why that is. And so understanding, like, why are you picking this image over that image? Why are you picking this clip over that clip? And developing that as a skill. And I think all of that kind of came together, of course, with some beautiful magic and gifts from the universe in terms of getting those shots to curate from. As you know, like there's still a lot of magic left in terms of what that machine gives you in the end. And it can fight you or it can give you little gifts. And I think I got a lot of gifts on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious, did you give it anything like in the style of a particular movie or director or anything like that?
I would have loved to. I find that gets blocked so much. I mean, I think you should be able to say inspired by and Michel Gondry, or like who's one of my favorites, or Genet. And but I do find that gets blocked quite a bit, and increasingly so, and probably rightfully so. But I do think using the words inspired by or Gilliam-esque should be allowed to be used. But so what I would do then is, if I can't use those words, I would go over to Claude or to ChatGPT and ask them to break down. You know, so what does that style mean? And teach me how to say it in a way that Seedance will understand. And so that would be the workaround to it.
Yeah, yeah. Also, it reminded me of again, this is probably accidental, but like I love Alan Renee's films. It really feels like a Renee, especially with the bouncing back and forth in time and being in France. Brian.
Right. Can you hear me? Is my mic actually working?
Yes. Amazing.
Great.
Yes.
Robert, it was amazing. It was so great to see it at the festival last week and see it here again this week. I'm going to ask a bunch of technical questions. So the first one is, so you started in Grok, you got your character in Grok. How are you then going from there into, I'm assuming you're going image to video here, start frame, or maybe reference, but at any rate, you've got your character. Does that go to a character sheet? How are you getting the character into the storyboards? That's my first question.
Yep. So I'm going from picking the image, which is more of a portrait at that point, to really get the detail in the face. And then in this case, I went to Nano Banana Pro. But if I were redoing it, I would probably use ChatGPT, like GPT image.
And this was, just to clarify, you're using Nano Banana Pro. When is this? 6 months ago? 8 months ago?
No, this is
3 months
2
ago?
months ago, 3 months ago.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm creating your standard like 4-panel character sheet, front view, back view, side view, and close up a portrait. And then I'll create that, and just, especially now, it's really good to use GPT Image 2 or whatever the latest model is to make your wardrobe changes at that point. I knew the wardrobe really only changed once, and that was when Marcel was going to get dressed up to go back to the park. So I created that at that point in time. And you had mentioned going image to video. That used to be my workflow pre-Seedance. And I
so
still,
Seedance 2, okay.
But if I need something like, so if I'm really dead set on having a certain composition and having like very specific blocking for a scene, which I didn't in this film because I think the story carries it, you'll notice there's a lot of central framing in that film. I was less concerned about composition throughout this. I also think like the Wes Anderson central blocking character is really trendy and it really fit this well. So in this case, I didn't really do image to video. I did, the character references in Seedance 2 using, what's it called in Seedance 2? It's not Omni. Yeah, it is
No,
Omni.
wait, it's like an Omni. You're basically doing text to video, but text with reference, because Seedance will take so many references.
Yeah. And then when I needed consistency in environments, what I would do is pull that from a video clip. So Marcel in his kitchen, instead of generating a separate environment reference image, I just took the first one that I liked, exported a still from the video, then went over to Nano Banana Pro, asked it to remove Marcel from that image, and now I have what Seedance generated as the background plate. Then I can take that and modify that into 3 or 4 environmental images by saying like generate 4 more shots of different angles of this.
Right. So like the shot of the stove and the shot, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how I got to that point, from character to going into video generation.
Okay, so it's basically Grok character, Nano Banana Pro for all your image editing needs, Seedance with reference for video generation. You're pulling back out of Seedance for, some environments and things like that. I guess lastly, and I got a couple of, the voiceover, is that also AI?
11 Labs. Yep.
11 Labs. Is that your voice and your voice changing it?
No, you can create a custom voice character in there now, like a text-based prompt to generate, and that's how I came up with that character.
So yeah, you created a voice and then just text to voice.
Yep.
Okay. Lastly, was there any upscaling, or did you just send it?
No, I did upscale it in the end. I wanted to keep it a little soft, so I'm an old guy, so I don't mind soft, grainy cinema. And I find these new AI upscalers are really hammering the sharpness of everything. So what I did use is Topaz Video. And I used I'd have to look at the model. Maybe I can send it to you later. But it has a fixed compression setting, and I go fixed compression to 100, and that's the only setting I use on it. Everything dialed back to 0, and then lay grain in post.
You lay grain like After Effects or something like that.
Yeah. I think I just used, well, there's an option in Topaz to lay grain, and that's what I used on this one.
Okay. Oh, so you're using Topaz Studio then? Local generation?
Yes.
Okay, great. You're running on NVIDIA GPU, Mac. What are you?
NVIDIA GPU. Okay. I don't even know. I should be a techie guy more than I am, more of a design creative guy. But I got the 12 gig one. It runs stuff out in an hour or two.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's most of my technical questions. Sorry to badger you with those, but
no, it's important.
No, that was great, Brian.
Play it like it wasn't important. It is. I think in this case, because I've made other things before that weren't as special as this, and I think by really trying to evaluate what made this special, I think was the non-technical elements and the curation and nuance and stuff in this case.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I would just say the thing I didn't notice were any technical hangups. Right? Like if there had been like some obvious I think Phil and I talked about this last year, you could kind of see a lot of the videos were embracing the jank of AI filmmaking. Yeah. This made this was technically solid to a level where I didn't see jank points to make me go, oh, that's how you can tell he did it in Kling. Because, I didn't notice the telltale sign of, oh, yeah, using that, you're going to get that every time,
Yeah. The comic book was the only thing. But it's interesting. I was going to ask you about that, Robert. You left in the comic book, which is sort of gibberish, not in a bad way. And I never noticed it until this time. And I've seen it a lot of times. So,
that's interesting because I did debate that. And for me, the goal isn't to replicate another art form using AI. My goal wasn't to create a film that would look like it was shot on camera where everything was perfect. It was for me to try and use the technology to the best I could. And as long as the story still survived, I wasn't hung up on the small things. That was really kind of you, Brian, to say you didn't notice a bunch of stuff. Having worked on it, I see it all.
I mean, if I could get it on my 4K monitor, I'll frame by frame this shit, and I'll hit you with an email of everything wrong with it. Don't worry. Just send it on over. I will break this thing. I will tear this thing to bits.
I know where it all is in there, right? And I made a conscious decision, not to go back and do an image to video generation of that scene. I didn't. The titles there, I didn't think the mushy, illegible text really took away from that scene.
No.
So I left it in.
Yeah. It's sort of dreamlike, like the movie too. Just real quick, I'm not sure if you'd said it, but did you use storyboard images at all to give to the model?
No. So what I did was I created my own storyboard when I created my shot list, just for me, just so that when I was getting ready to generate that scene, and I just used language because again. I'm a big fan, especially now that Seedance is here, is letting it breathe a little. I find if you really over direct it, I don't find the results come out as nicely. And having been a photographer previously, I'm always trying to set up a scenario for some happy accident to occur. Meaning let's set this up where I still get what I need to serve the narrative. But let's allow it to do some neat things. For example, the pigeons sitting on Marcel's head in the park.
That was great.
That's AI.
Yeah,
I didn't do that. The cut when he's in the kitchen and it cuts from his boots and cuts on action to an exact match of his upper torso turning. That's another happy moment from using Seedance and letting it breathe. So I think. And I'll go back and forth. There'll be certain sequences that I'm dead set on. I'll say, shot one is a two shot, and and then we're going to cut to a close up, then we're going to cut to reaction, and I'll do a lot of those within the 15 seconds of sea dance instead of generating 3-second shots individually.
Right, you let them.
Yeah,
you'll prompt it into a multi-shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I also find you get some happy accidents that way too. And because this was a personal project and it wasn't a client project, I didn't have a deadline. So I could play with it. Even though I completed it, in a very short amount of time, I still didn't feel rushed on it. But if it were client work and I was working with a team and a director, that certainly wouldn't be my approach. I would have to really feed storyboard images and all the stuff that you do to keep clients happy.
Right. The team's got to agree. I guess my very last technical question, I promise, is you were accessing all this how? Like you're getting Seedance via API or using an aggregator? How are you accessing the tools?
So I use Seedance two different ways. One, I had Claude write me just a very simple interface so I could use the API. Okay. And I had the API via Dramina. I didn't have it directly from ByteDance. And then I also used it within Dramina.
Okay. So you're getting, you're getting direct from ByteDance there. Yeah.
Yeah. But after I had a chance to beta test Octo, which is a canvas. I don't know if you've had a chance to use it. Through Dramina. It's pretty fantastic. So basically it's a canvas where you upload all of your assets and you can see them on the same screen, and then you can just tag reference them. You can upload your script. It has an LLM agent on the side, which is only good to help you a little. If you ask it, like, generate me my storyboard, it just spends your money on you for no good reason. But check that tool out. If I had to redo this film, I would be redoing it in Octo, or my next film will be done in Octo. Or Runway, they have some neat stuff there too. And they've given me a whack of credit, so I guess I'll be doing it in Runway.
Oh, nice. Clemencia.
Yeah, Robert, thank you very much for sharing your film, and I love the concept of the softness of the film, because you're right. A lot of the AI right now, you can recognize it if you're working with it. Anything you see out there, oh, that's an AI generator, because it's so sharp. But my question is, how do you get to the dance? Because the dance scene, both in the beginning, but especially at the end, with the feet of both the female and the male characters, are very, very good steps to the music that you put. So I was wondering, how did you get to that exactness of those steps and movements in the dance?
So again, part of it was a gift given to me by the generating gods, and the other part was just curating. So I had my score done before I worked on the sections too, and the score was done in Suno. So all of the music, Suno is a pretty wonderful tool. I created a bunch of tracks in there and decided, what I would use for each part. Wow. And so I knew when I was editing and generating kind of the cadence that I needed. But at the same time, it was a wonderful gift that things got so close in certain places, as well as editing. I mean, there was a lot of editing done in that film. As you know, you get an amazing 3 seconds out of a 15-second clip, and you want that in the film. How do you make it work? You got to splice that here and cut that there. So there's a lot of that in there too. But I think, again, it just goes back to knowing what you're trying to generate. Like, again, getting away from just, I need this really amazing visual to breaking it down. It's more important that I get these natural footsteps, yet Marcel is still clumsy. Marcel doesn't, I almost didn't do the Marcel dance in the park. He's a little too together in that, but I liked everything else, so it's just about really knowing what you're trying to capture there, and then understanding where you can make the compromises.
Right. Did you give the music to AI before saying, give me the steps to this music?
I didn't, but I have done that on another project where I put it in and asked it to, use it as inspiration within it. And it did a pretty good job. And that's something that I need to experiment more with. as well as using pre-recorded dialogue and using it in Dance. That's still not something I spend a lot of time doing. I've been natively generating the dialogue like within Dance. I find the lip sync is really good when you do that. Luckily, there's not a lot of dialogue in this film. I didn't have to go redub for vocal consistency in 11 labs. If you really pay attention, you can tell there's a little bit of drift, but I thought it was okay. I still find 11 labs when you do voice changing really struggles with accents. It's still pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm experimenting now with typing things out phonetically. So how a French person might say a word, trying to figure out how do we phonetically spell that so we get those same sounds coming out, because it kind of defaults to everyday English and then copies like the vocal tone of the voice character you've created. But I find the accenting doesn't carry. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Clemencia. Mark.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, great. Congratulations, Robert. It's a great film. I was at the festival the other day and it really stood out, man. And great accomplishment. And I think the reason for me that it stood out was the story. I mean, it was really crafted and just ingenious. And it's an original story idea. Yeah. So did you incorporate AI into the crafting of the story at all, or how did that work?
I certainly used it for research. I'm not a native French speaker. So I did need it and I did want dialogue within it. So I did use it to help me with translation. And then I had to go look up the pronunciation online to make sure I wasn't offending anyone, when he speaks French in the film. I haven't had any complaints yet, and I think it is pretty accurate. But yeah. The other thing that I'll use it for too is if I get stuck, I'll ask it some questions. I'll also ask its opinion. I'll say, here's the script that I've written. Can I get your opinion on it? How does it, does it work in a 3-act structure? What would you change? So I certainly use it as a writing partner, but the initial idea and creative decisions, I always want to be mine at the end of the day. I would have a really hard time being proud of it. AI can do a lot of things for us, but I think if you're not doing the storytelling or you're not working for somebody else who's written the story, you can certainly do that and get paid. But I find that sense of fulfillment would be missing for me personally. So to me, especially when we talk about authorship, and there's a lot of debate about what authorship is in terms of when you create AI films. Well, if I've written it, I'm the author of it. However it's executed from that point forward, I'm still the author of that story. And so I think that's a good, solid foundation to begin with.
Yeah. So I love the idea that you used AI as like a writing partner, and visually it looks fantastic. I work as an editor, I docs and TV and stuff like that. So what did you edit in?
Sorry, what did I edit it in?
Yeah.
CapCut, actually. CapCut's got some really neat, I have DaVinci and I have Premiere and I have After Effects, and I go to CapCut a lot of the times because it's got some neat AI stuff. It has the best video removal tool on the market. The other day I had a shot was 2 doorknobs on a door. I loved everything else about the shot. I tried doing Omni.
Oh, I think we've lost you.
Oh, fuck.
It's because we said too much about CapCut. We revealed the secrets.
Breaking up is hard to do.
Philip, I can't get.
Robert, are you there? We can't hear you.
I'd like to ask you.
Frozen.
I'd like to ask a question if he unfreezes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, bummer.
Hey, he's coming back. We've dropped.
I just have one last question.
I think we ran out of credits, and so we've dropped to a very low frame rate.
Yeah, don't render while you zoom.
Oh. Is he on the?
Yeah, right.
Oh, well.
Roxanne, where did you meet Robert? It was at one of the film festivals?
No, on LinkedIn.
Oh, on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I bumped into one of his posts one day, and I watched that film actually, like a few weeks before the festival, and I thought, wow, that is so good. And I saw there was so very few views and people liking it.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, that's crazy. And then I saw the other film he posted after that, which is equally amazing. And there was, again, very few views. Maybe he doesn't have many people follow. So I shared his film.
He was on, he's on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, but
yeah, I think he's back. Robert, you're back.
Yeah, it must have been my connection.
Welcome back. That's all right.
Okay. All right.
We figured you ran out of credits, ran out of Zoom credits.
Robert, I had one last question. Did you get a chance to meet Ron Howard?
I did not. I think Ron Howard likely left immediately. I really loved what Ron had to say, but he certainly had one foot in and one foot out. On the topic of AI, I think what he said was really responsible and really insightful. But I think he probably left the building before any press could get at him, because it certainly is a hot button topic.
He was being a bit cagey about it at the beginning there. He didn't, with the idea that the industry is jobs are trickling away, that you could tell he was not really all in, and it was very carefully worded what he said. Yeah.
But the mere presence of his going on stage to talk about it was quite the thing, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's a really responsible point of view. I think about it a lot, and I think about its impact on the traditional industry, and I'm 100% let's go ahead with it. I think there's a lot of positives too, but I'm very empathetic to other people and how they need to adjust and reinvent themselves. We've seen this many times before. When photography changed from film to digital, all the darkroom guys who had 30 years of experience in that craft automatically now had to compete against everybody who had a camera and a website. So I was part of that market transition. A very similar thing where it went from craft to more of a disposable commodity. And then the tastemakers weren't seen, whether you like tastemakers or not. They certainly have influence in an industry. And then once we had Instagram and stuff, the photography market basically became unworkable, except for like the top 1% or wedding photographers, which I was neither. But yeah, I love AI. I love it for the same reason that I love anything that allows people that don't have access to now have access and tell their stories. When I was working in nonprofit, I was fortunate enough to work for an organization where we would go and do science and technology training up in Nunavut, in Iqaluit. And I can only imagine, some of the stories that we can get out of these more remote and rural points of the parts of the world, as well as Africa. And that's what really excites me and offsets all of the negative aspects of, I don't think we need to stop pursuing this technology. I just think we have to help the industry adjust, and minimize that impact it's going to have people that work traditionally.
Yeah. Just before, Michael Jacobson is coming up next, but I just want to throw in, he asked a while ago in the chat, Javis asked, hey, Robert, what was the process for crafting the music? Did you generate prompts for it with Claude? What was the thought behind it?
I find really good results with Suno when I just kind of plot in the keywords that I like. So in this case, it was like whimsical 1930s French, Parisian, like a lot of keywords. And then I don't know why this is escaping my brain at the moment. Oh, accordion. I couldn't find the word
Yeah,
accordion.
yeah.
Accordion lead. And then I would generate. Suno's quite affordable. I find it's not a big credit burner until I found kind of the pace and cadence that I wanted. And I wasn't super picky. Again, not being a Parisian music expert, as long as it was bringing that world sense to me, it worked. And then as long as the cadence was good, like I didn't want fast action if we weren't, having anything occur. So more of like a waltz tempo. But yeah, I find just keywording and playing around and then using your own sensibility. But does it fit what you're trying to do?
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Michael Jacobson, and then James D'Alessandro will go, and then Jay. Go ahead, Michael.
You said you work 2 weeks and sometimes 17-hour days, and you use C dance, and you even said you made clips 15 seconds. I would imagine that the C dance amount of money that you spent must have been hefty. Can you give you don't have to give amount, but was it a lot of money for a personal thing, or what was how did you manage that psychologically?
Yeah. So number one, I try not to look at my credit card bill too closely. But number two, I kind of have it down to a formula now where I'm estimating based on the number of average generations that it's costing about $1 per second in C dance.
I mean,
so
for the final film or for the total length of your film?
Yeah, for the final meaning.
So it was like less than $1,000. So it was reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was one that I knew that I really wanted to make. I have some others. It's always that process of getting to the point where do I want to spend my own money on this project? Does it feel worthwhile to me? But I have some scripts ready to go. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not a wealthy person. I've been working in AI for 3.5 years. 99% of what I do is pre-production. We still do storyboards and sizzle reels and pitch decks, and I've been very fortunate to be able to do that for a while. Yeah, but I mean, $1,000 is still a significant amount of money to me, and so just finding the right project where you say, this is an investment in myself, and I want to put it, I want to create it, and whatever happens from there happens.
Thanks for sharing. You use like the latest C dance or like a model before? I mean,
no, this was all C dance too, and it wouldn't have been possible without C dance too. I think that's why you saw such a great difference between last season's runway and this season.
Yeah.
And I think even the next version of C dance, we will be seeing feature after feature begin to drop. We're really close to being able to do that. You can do that currently.
And even they're talking by the end of the summer, there's anticipated for C Dance Mini, which will be roughly the power and possibility and capability of C Dance, but for significantly cheaper. As you've been discussing, C Dance is a great model, but by my math, it literally is a 5-to-1 difference in cost versus Kling 3.0. Like it's considerably more expensive.
Yeah, it is. So it's just choices, and it depends what you're making it for too. I think that's a lot like traditional production too. Are you going to go out and rent your Ari and some expensive lenses, and does your script justify that? Or are you going to shoot it on your iPhone? It just whatever it feels like to you. I had some money, and I really thought I had something in this concept, so I invested in it. I have some others that maybe I shouldn't have invested in, but that's the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think audiences are going to start to adapt to things like the look. When you watch cartoons on TV, they're very low quality compared to, the movies. So, but we're fine with that. James D'Alessandro. Oh, thank you, Michael Jacobson, by the way. Go ahead, James. Yeah.
Thank you, Philip. Congratulations, Robert. You said the magic word. It's always about the story. I'm a best-selling novelist and been a working screenwriter for 35 years. And I lecture everywhere, and people always ask me, "What's the secret?" There is no secret. It's a good story, well told. You had me at hello. I mean, it was absolutely brilliant. It was flawless. It was amazing. My wife is sitting here. I'm watching. So I sent you an email already. I do historical epics. I wrote the best-selling novel 1906 in the screenplay, which Brad Bird is scheduled to direct sometime between now and the apocalypse.
Amazing.
I'm 3 weeks away from the world record for development hell, but I also sold a big one to the FX channel a couple of years ago about a New York homicide detective who almost a shoeshine boy drafted into the NYPD who almost destroyed the New York Mafia before they became the Mafia, with his pal Theodore Roosevelt and others. It's the greatest crime and mafia story that nobody knows. So I made JJ up there works with me on an animated show. So here's my question, and I would like to discuss this with you. I'm going to hire actors to do the voices. I'm not going to take AI to the same level. I'm not going to put actors out of work. Same thing with musicians and others. I can do that. But my whole thing is to do this photorealistic, just like you did that. That was the look that you got was absolutely, my jaw was on the ground. Yeah. I turned to my wife, I said, this is the guy who figured it out. So there are probably 1 million photographs and thousands of hours of hand-cranked Edison film footage of New York between the 1890s and 1909. And I have access to lots of it. And I would like to use that and animate some characters in there. So you just gave me the belief that can be done, that you can take those characters, put them through the process that you're doing this in, and do something great on your own. I'm completely into doing stuff on my own. I'm not, I could work tomorrow as a screenwriter. I'm tired of doing, I don't know what the record is for unproduced films, but I'm in competition. So can that be done? Are you of a mind that that's not within the grasp? You seem to have already done it.
Yeah. And number one, I think almost everyone, if they had budget, would choose to use humans for voiceover and voice acting and stuff. And I think that's like a really responsible position to be in. And then I think that just comes down to budget. For me, it wasn't an option. Nobody knew who I was before this film was received. If I had sent a short story out, nobody would have given a shit. Nobody wanted to come and donate their time to work on a project with me. So this is just the beginning of me being somebody that people would like to work with. I'm very fortunate to have that happen, especially, I'm 54. A very surprising time to happen in my life, but very happy for it. But I do think the timing is right. I think it's really important not to oversell that you wouldn't be able to tell that it's AI, because you certainly would. But can you still create that suspension of disbelief that's required for good storytelling and for good cinema and good films? You sure can. And I think that that's where we're at with this stage. Yeah, and I have been doing some different things for broadcast. They're not out yet, but we're starting to do 1 to 2 minute little whether it's crime recreation or historical recreation that fit into those interview type shows that you see on A&E and history and stuff.
Yeah,
we can get the resolution decent. Topaz now will convert to 10-bit color, so colorists don't want to strangle you when you give them your 8-bit AI files.
Have you messed with that at all yet? I've messed with it slightly. It's I mean, I'm not a colorist, so I would love to talk to a colorist to hand them stuff. But yeah, I was curious what your experience with that was.
And I'm not a colorist either, but the feedback that came back to me from the colorists that we're using on this project said it had enough latitude that he could make it work. Again, we're not going from log to color. We're going from a close estimation of what the final grade will be and going to color. So slightly different, but better. But James, yeah, I do think
Well,
I do think it's time you greenlight yourself. And regardless of whoever you're using, I do think the technology is there.
well, here's the thing. I have no illusion that it'll look exactly like a motion picture, and you also hit on that subject. It doesn't need to be. It's I've decided to take. I have a horror story that I'm going to do the same way. So I don't care that that it looks as a slight animation look, just as long as it's rooted in reality. You had every one of us loving your characters, loving his story, the pacing, the voice, the story, everything that you did there. That's exactly what I want to do. You're the first person I've seen who's actually bridged that gap into pulling people emotionally into these things by telling a great story about a fascinating character and doing it with great class and great style and great everything. That look there is as good as if what I'm doing only comes out looking that well, I'm going to be a very happy guy. So, I already sent you an email. So anyway, I won't say anymore.
All right, thank you, James. Jay.
Well, thanks, guys. Quickly, James, I was gonna say that story sounds amazing. Like, just when you think you've heard every badass Teddy Roosevelt story, there's always like another one, you know.
He's the ultimate. He's the ultimate. He's the
ultimate. And for, I don't know, our Canadian brothers and sisters may, but Teddy is like one of the best of us. He was not perfect. He was a complicated guy, but he's an amazing human being, an American. Anyway.
And then there was the time he punched a moose, you know.
Right. I mean, we got shot and continued the speech, and I mean, it's just there's a million of them. But
when you said Robert, punched a moose, all our Canadian neighbors just winced. I know it.
Right. I appreciate it, Robert. Just now, you were mentioning that you had a colorist on board, and so I want to make a kind of ask you a question, and then comment on some stuff earlier about the job thing. Are we adding, are we subtracting? Because it's not actually totally clear. So here's a great example, right? If Robert doesn't have generative tools and he doesn't make the film, that colorist doesn't get the job. So that's something that is, needs to be in the conversation. One question I have for you, Robert, and I was really noticing with all the great films at the festival, is you've talked about the music and how you made that in Suno, but how about the sound design? Because one thing that I'm finding, and I'm way down the curve from you guys that are at the top of the curve, but is that I want to I'm a longtime editor, director, writer, but I want to be doing the sound design myself. Like I don't like the generated video having sound, even though sometimes it's good and it makes sense inside the shot, from shot to shot across a story. I'm just finding that I'm getting better results, like doing it the old-fashioned way, with the added value of, if I don't have the sound effect, I can make it. And I do that. I do go into Magnific and just make wallas, and if I need burgers on the grill or whatever it is, I can do it. But I'm manually editing sound design. And how did it go for Marcel and your film here?
Yeah. So just to clarify, when I was talking about having a colorist, I didn't have a colorist on this film, but on a couple of projects that I'm working on commercially, there is a colorist in that pipeline. So we've been doing some testing, but I'm doing very much what you're doing for sound design, and I'm taking the nice bits that it gives me, and then like muting the sound around it, the sound that doesn't work. And then I'm going to traditional sound databases and pulling, footsteps and different things, or wind and atmosphere. And then I'm also generating other clips for the simple sake of trying to get the sound off of that Sea Dance clip. It's expensive, but I found that it's giving me a much closer match to what I need than using, there are sound effects generators out there. 11 Labs has one. A few other places have. I don't find them that they're that good.
Same.
So I find if I do Marcel walks across his kitchen floor, even if I don't want to use the video, I know I can get footsteps. And Sea Dance is pretty brilliant about understanding the sound his boots would make on that floor. So I will burn some credits because sound design's really important in terms of keep maintaining that believability, of the scene for sure.
Thank you so much. So, guys, I won't take up too much time. I've got to get off in a bit. I just wanted to say, what's making jobs and what isn't, and how technology changes. One thing I've always thought was interesting, and I had this thought before generative filmmaking was here, is that if you look at like some of the Hitchcock films, like the total crew is like 30 people. Like there's a DP and there's a gaffer and a best boy and there's costume designer and and there's set builders and painters, but like 30, 50 people like making a studio film, and then CGI came in and you look at like a Marvel film, and I love those. I have a teenage boy and I watch all those, and there's hundreds and hundreds. I mean, I had a friend in LA and so I'm going to say this because this is what he said, the pixel slaves, that there was like, and he made good money and he was by no means a slave, but like they were like in these like get like support things because they would all get carpal tunnel, and just for years there's hundreds of people now like that job didn't exist. So it's the old the horse carriage makers got put out of business, but then the auto mechanics got put into business. And another Carl Kramer, who's a member of another group that a lot of us are in, has said he's doing projects at Lionsgate. And to your point, James or Robert, I think you mentioned it, historical recreate. And now somebody's mother's happy because some history major who is an expert in the French Revolution has now gotten a job at Lionsgate to verifying, the art direction. And that absolutely would not have happened not for these generative tools. So it's just like everything. I think it's nuanced, and I'm just really, I'm fighting this battle with my son who's 16. He's a great film lover because he comes from a line of it. And a lot of kids are very like AI averse, and I'm just trying to get him to see that it's not so black and white, and every time I see a great piece of art like yours, I feel like I'm making progress, but they're very resistant, and I think Ron Howard's point was really great that, the audience, that'll change. Like once there's a good film, people were resistant to Pixar, and I think most of us here are old enough to remember all those turns of the culture and the craft. And Ron Howard went to that too. He's like, look, when people started editing in video, like that put the Steenbeck maintenance guy never got another job, so this is how it goes.
I was working the day that guy actually
retired.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
It was sad. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay.
I have a comment that aligns with yours, and I just think we haven't had enough time to go down this pipeline yet because, I won a little bit of money from the runway thing. And so when I make my next film that's more like a formal film or submission, I certainly will employ people. I didn't work solo because that was a preference. I worked solo because who was going to work with me? You know what I mean? I could have asked friends or something, but I had no upsell to attract people. I would have loved to work with a professional editor and sound engineer. We don't have to have wardrobe stylists be unemployed. Wardrobe stylists can send you images and you can use their expertise and use it in your AI film. You can hire hair and makeup and have them consult for you what your character should look like. We just have to get further down that pipeline. We were already shedding, not we, like I'm a part of the industry, but the industry was already shedding jobs by shooting on sound stages. When they would go and shut down a street in Brooklyn, all of those restaurants got a big pump up and the cops got extra pay. We're a long way away from this fantasy idea that industry hasn't been in decline and laying people off. They have been already. Yeah. I think we have a room full of people here that were you given the budget, you would all have a multi-person operation in filmmaking. There's probably enough people on the screen here as they are major studios in the United States. So how do we say that that's an industry in decline when we're going to have hundreds of thousands of new filmmakers across the world employing other people to work on the projects with them? And that's how I see this space. It's a really hard transition, especially for people working in VFX and CG, who, as you know, are the ones who comment on your AI posts.
Yeah.
They're the most hurt by it immediately, the most threatened. So we just have to delicately get through that.
Yeah, and when you mentioned the idea like you're in your 50s as a fellow member of the 50-ish club, the fact that you can be a breakout visionary director is fantastic. In the same day that Kane Parsons and all these young kids from YouTube are legitimately and deservedly becoming great filmmakers on the big screen. The idea that you don't need all those resources to put something on the screen is cool. Ala, go ahead.
Well, animation took one of the worst beatings of anyone, although cell animators yielded CGI. That doesn't mean that Toy Story 5 is better than Fantasia by a considerable margin.
Yeah.
But it's back to what Robert did. It's telling a great story, making everything is in service to the story. And that's
it was
why
interesting. I just saw Toy Story 5 and it was beautiful. And I just look at AI all the time now. So I was sitting there in a theater watching Toy Story 5 on the big screen, and it was so beautiful. I was like, look how fluid that animation is. It's unbelievable.
It was made to continue to sell toys to children, which is
I might buy one too. Allah.
Hey, Robert, thank you so much. Really, it was an impressive movie. I really appreciate to share that with us. I was waiting actually for someone ask about consistency, but never asked that. So because it used to be a challenging, in AI generating, but because I haven't played around for a while, so I thought that maybe that challenge fixed or found a solution. But if you like, if you can talk about how you kept, so beautifully consistency on the characters in this film.
So I think character consistency really has improved a lot, and you still have to have a sharp eye because it will give you some little twists and turns, but it's not a big factor as it used to be. I find environment and vocal consistency are now the new challenges, and they're often harder to spot. So, for example, maybe your camera pans, and in this one shot, there's a fridge there, and then you pan back, but now what you had there is no longer consistent. And then in a scene that's 6 scenes later, you go and the camera pans, but it's a different fridge. So I find the environment is much more challenging now. And I think it's because we're trying to do much harder things than we used to. When we were going image to video, you really weren't doing sophisticated camera work. So you had a background plate that stayed pretty consistent. But now, there's a lot of really neat stuff you can do with the camera. And it's just about creating that consistency in your environments. And stuff sneaks through all the time. And, it's worth getting a second set of eyes to try and find that stuff. But for characters, there's a lot of different ways. I've tried a few different things. I don't do much more than like a 4-panel character sheet in each wardrobe the character will wear. But I will do the elements that need to stay consistent. So the bouquet of flowers, I had to make that as its own icon because there's a couple of scenes where those flowers carry across. Different things like that. So anything that and you might not realize this until you're cutting your rough assembly together, what you need to be consistent later on. So I didn't realize I needed that element reference for the flowers until I had him running up the stairs without carrying the bouquet. And I thought, well, that's odd. The continuity of him running up the street holding flowers, and then all of a sudden he's not holding them. So I need to have an insert shot or a detail shot that shows him setting them down. And so at that point, then I went back, pulled a still image of him holding that bouquet of flowers, took it into Nano Banana and said, create me a character sheet of this bouquet of flowers so I could match it. So I think some of that needs to happen organically through the process. But yeah, I think character consistency seems to be handled. I don't know, maybe everybody else can chime in on your experience, but for me, it's not as big of an issue as it has been.
Definitely better. All right, JJ is going to be our last question, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, question and a comment. I adore the character, and my question is if anyone's worked on, having seen some of these developments towards Unreal Engine, like to the question of creating consistency backgrounds. Has anyone worked in here, Unreal Engine, to create that set background so that then stays static and have your particular scenes stay static to what you decide them to be, setting the lights where they would be inside the environment, and then modify just the characters so that then at which point the story can continue through the vocal acting and functioning basically as DP during the entire production of those various scenes that you then edit. I don't know I don't know. I'm asking because the comment earlier about Alex Lindsay, that this is the show that we did, and the character that you'll see here,
Oh no,
my character, I can resonate with that face that only a mother could love. This is my old metahuman character that I created for that particular show. Wondering how much further we've moved towards making static components and elements once they're established inside Unreal Engine or another engine that you're using today to help create projects for people who just want to tell a story, do the shots, and create those environments. Versus,
it's interesting.
This seems really hard what you did.
Yeah.
Using
I think it's interesting you say that because I think that's the next development. If I were asked what we're going to see in the next year, because we have these amazing world building tools that will create navigable, immersive worlds based on a still image that you provide, and it provides consistency. So if you leave an environment and you return, it has memory. So my prediction is that you're going to see a merger of what we're doing with Gaussian splatting, generative worlds, and generative video, where you would set your scene up much like you would set up your CGI scene, meaning the character will walk a certain path and all of these different things will happen in a 3D spatial environment. And then I think we will film it and render it. And I really hope we get to that point. And to me, it speaks to like having great control and having items that don't disappear, that we have object permanence in those scenes. But to more directly answer your question, I've worked on hybrid projects where we are using AI to create the background plates and environments for CG. Then CG will render it, and then it will either be finished product at that point, or I will take it and reskin it again once more in AI. So what we've done is we've taken CG level control over how the assets move through an environment, and then be able to transfer that back into AI and put a nice finish on it without having to do heavy duty rendering. So there's lots of really neat experimentation happening there. I don't know if that answers your question directly, but like if you were to do just a very quick model of something in 3D, play around with running it through like Runway Aleph or like the Google Omni, where you can feed that video in, provide a start frame image and restyle it. You can do that with your metahuman characters too. You can take your video clip and say like, create a nano banana image from a still and say, make this hyper realistic, and then run it back through and it will give you a new render and finish.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you.
I just linked a video where I do something similar.
Oh, cool.
It's in one of my open art videos. I actually use like Playblast type 3D input to drive motion of characters, and it's kind of a how-to. So you can watch that video, JJ, if you want. You want to see something kind of along those lines, and good and bad. Like it kind of works sometimes. It doesn't.
Cool. So, by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Jamian. Jamian's going to show his stuff next week. I'm very excited for that. What is it called? It's director. Is open art?
Just yeah, Open Art has a new feature called Director. I got early access to it. I think it drops tomorrow, but it's absolutely insane.
Cool.
Yeah, I did a 3-minute short film in 30 minutes, and it looks pretty good. So it's a game changer.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing that. And a number of us attend Future Film, another AI group run by David Abelson. And I know, Robert, you're there. You're talking to that group tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to more stuff there. That's a fantastic group, so it's going to be great. So we can get more juicy tidbits from you, Robert. Just to wrap up, any last thoughts you want to leave us with? One thing, actually, I just want to real quick. Is there a site you go to keep up on the best AI shorts or AI films?
Really, LinkedIn. I mean, if you're following the right people on LinkedIn, I think, there's a steady stream. People are so generous, like Roxanne, in terms of sharing art that they find that isn't self-promotion. It's, furthering what other people are doing and really curating the best. And I think that's where I go primarily. I mean, I will do YouTube searches and search things out. Escape, it depends what niche you like. Escape.ai has a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of fully AI generated platforms now, meaning all of the content is AI generated content, the shows, and But what I would really like to say is I'm just a guy, who's been fortunate enough to make some storyboards and do some things with AI and learn it. And up until the runway contest, I really wasn't much of anything in terms of a filmmaker. So all of your kind words, the fact that you enjoyed my film, the fact that you've supported it, and that you had questions for me, I think most of you are probably far more technically advanced than I am in this skill set. I think I just maybe have had a different set of experiences, and that culminated with me being able to write this piece that came out pretty special. And so I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. And you don't know how much it means to me to have your support and to have you be interested in asking me questions. So thank you very much.
Really inspiring,
Thank you.
Robert.
Yeah, if everyone could unmute yourself and we could hear everybody clap, that would be great.
Thank you.
Yay!
Humans. Thank you so much for spending so much time and giving us so
Great
much
stuff,
information,
man.
Robert.
Great stuff.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you all for coming as every week. It's incredible to see all y'all. I hope you have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, thank you.